Number 1. The aging country. Not many countries in the world have experienced a population crisis with two simultaneous trends like Japan. A rapid decline in overall numbers combined with a sharp rise in the elderly population. A major turning point is expected to take place in 2025. This is when the entire generation born between 1947 and 1949, those from the post-World War II baby boom, will all be aged 75 or older. As a result, the financial burden of healthcare and the demand for elderly care will rise dramatically across society. Looking back at history, Japan has lived with a low birth rate for nearly 7 decades. The current fertility rate is only about 1.2 children per woman, far below the 2.1 threshold required to maintain a stable population. Although some other Asian countries, such as South Korea, now have even lower rates at around 0.7, Japan's prolonged period of low fertility has caused its social consequences to appear earlier and more severely. A common belief is that young Japanese people are no longer interested in marriage or having children. However, many statistics indicate that this is not the case. The problem does not lie in their unwillingness to build families, but rather in the fact that they lack the financial means to begin that journey. Among those who are married, the fertility rate remains relatively high. On average, a married Japanese woman has about 1.9 children, which is higher than the average in the United States. This shows that once financial barriers are removed, the desire to have children is still very strong in Japanese society. The real issue lies in the first step. Fewer and fewer people are choosing to get married. With prolonged stagnant wages, many young people, especially men, feel they lack the financial capacity to support a family. In Japanese culture, the husband is typically seen as the sole breadwinner, while the wife takes on household duties after marriage. With an average monthly salary of only about $2,400, many men believe they cannot afford to support even 2 people, let alone raise children. As a result, they are perceived as financially unattractive, and they often internalize this belief themselves. According to analysis by Japan's National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, individuals with higher incomes and stable social positions tend to marry earlier and have more children. In contrast, those facing economic hardship are more likely to delay or completely abandon marriage and childbearing. This reality is already forcing major companies to adjust their strategies. For example, OG Holdings, one of Japan's largest diaper manufacturers, recently announced it will stop producing baby diapers for the domestic market starting in September this year. The reason is that diapers for the elderly now generate nearly twice the revenue. Number 2. Japanese women's unique view of beauty. When it comes to Japanese women, many people immediately think of their gentle and modest appearance. Smooth white skin, slender figure, simple clothing style, and delicate gestures have almost become the default image whenever Japanese women are mentioned. They prefer modest outfits, focusing on neatness and elegance. And perhaps you have once been captivated by the classic beauty of a kimono that you could not take your eyes off. A recent example that further reinforces this image is Saori Araki. With just a single photo in office attire and an adorable puffed cheek expression, she made the social network X, formerly Twitter, explode. The photo was posted on the 25th of July 2025, and within just 1 week attracted 76 million views, helping her gain more than 121,000 new followers on Instagram. This spread shows that the gentle and charming beauty of Japanese women still has strong appeal, even standing out more than bold fashion models from other cultures. However, the perception of beauty in Japan has not always been the same as it is now. For a long time in the past, Japanese women believed that bathing too frequently would strip away the natural oils needed to protect the skin and hair. Therefore, not bathing for 1 or 2 days, especially in winter or in dry climates, was once considered completely normal. In addition, there was even a time when underarm hair was not seen as a sign of poor hygiene but, on the contrary, regarded as a natural charm by some people. Only when Western culture began to exert a stronger influence did these ideas gradually get replaced by modern beauty standards. Beyond appearance, the lifestyle of Japanese women is also undergoing noticeable changes. Traditional values are being adjusted under the influence of modern Western lifestyles, especially from the United States. More and more women are choosing to stay single longer, marry later or not marry at all, live independently, work full-time, travel frequently, keep pets, and focus on personal investment. Marriage is no longer an obligatory goal but has become a selective decision. Another remarkable shift is the growing interest of Japanese women in foreign men. The main reason lies in the differences in emotional expression. Many Japanese women like being pampered and listened to, while Japanese men are often considered too reserved and less expressive in showing affection. Not a few wives have shared that their husbands forgot their wedding anniversary or have never said words of love. Meanwhile, men from the West, such as the United States or Europe, are considered better at showing care, creating surprises, and communicating emotions more clearly. This is precisely why around 300,000 Japanese women each year choose a foreign partner. This number continues to rise quickly, especially in big cities like Tokyo and Osaka. If you want to learn more about how to create a good impression with these charming women, leave a comment with the number 2 and I will share with you some interesting tips. Number 3. Etiquette rules you need to know in Japan. If you are familiar with Western culture, where hugs, cheek kisses, or handshakes are common greetings, in Japan, things are quite the opposite. Japanese people are not accustomed to physical contact unless they are truly close. Touching others, even something as simple as a pat on the shoulder or a handshake, can be considered inappropriate. Instead of shaking hands, they bow to show respect, with the depth and duration of the bow reflecting a specific meaning such as greeting, gratitude, or apology. Therefore, rather than instinctively extending your hand, you should observe the other person's reaction. If they do not intend to shake hands or make contact, a gentle bow is the proper way to convey goodwill and courtesy. For many, giving up a seat on a bus or train is always seen as a polite gesture. In Japan, however, this does not always create a positive impression. The reason is that Japanese society places great importance on independence and dignity, particularly among the elderly. In some cases, offering a seat can be misunderstood as pity. A survey in Tokyo once found that more than 65% of older people did not want to accept a seat unless they were truly tired. A more common approach is to quietly stand up, pretending you are about to get off at the next stop. This way, the person in need can sit down naturally without feeling obliged or uncomfortable. In dining culture, there is an action that may seem harmless but can cause you to be judged negatively, sticking chopsticks upright into a bowl of rice. In Japan, this evokes imagery from funeral rituals and is completely inappropriate at the dining table. If you need to put down your chopsticks temporarily, place them horizontally on a chopstick rest or next to the bowl to maintain proper etiquette. Additionally, during meals in Japan, interaction is highly valued. Pouring a drink for yourself is considered impolite, as proper manners dictate that you should pour for the person across from you and wait for them to pour back for you. This is not only a sign of courtesy, but also a way to connect and maintain harmony at the table. If you pour for yourself first, others may feel you are unwilling to engage in the shared atmosphere or that you lack consideration. Finally, although not written into law, revealing tattoos in Japan is still considered taboo in many places. Whether small or large, tattoos are often associated with the Yakuza or organized crime groups. Many public baths, hot springs, and swimming pools in Japan display signs refusing entry to people with tattoos. Therefore, if you have tattoos, it is best to cover them in public places to avoid unwanted situations. Number 4. The adult-oriented economy. During World War II, Japan, along with Germany and Italy, was among the 3 nations defeated by the Allies. As a result, more than half of the country's infrastructure was destroyed, while industrial output fell drastically to less than 10% of its pre-war level. From 1945 to 1948, domestic prices skyrocketed, rising 70 times within just 3 years. At the same time, Japan's export capacity vanished because the country no longer had any products competitive enough for the global market. However, that collapse did not last long. Instead, the world witnessed one of the most remarkable economic recoveries in modern history. From 1955 to 1980, Japan achieved an average annual growth rate of over 9%. The outcome of this breakthrough period was that a once defeated nation quickly rose to become the world's second largest economy, second only to the United States. Giant corporations such as Toyota, Sony, Toshiba, and Mitsubishi were born during this era, becoming symbols of Japan's miraculous economic rise. At one point, Tokyo even surpassed New York to become the world's leading financial center, with total asset value accounting for nearly 25% of the global share. Today, Japan holds the fourth position among the world's largest economies, ranking just behind the United States, China, and Germany. Japanese citizens enjoy one of the highest standards of living in Asia. In addition to its well-known leading industries, such as automobiles, electronics, and artificial intelligence technology, Japan also has a particularly developed sector that few would expect: the adult film industry. It is estimated that this field contributes up to 20% of the global adult film industry's total revenue. Each year, the Japanese market alone generates more than 25 billion USD. To put this into perspective, the entire global music industry in 2024 generated only about 26.7 billion USD. However, the development of the AV sector in Japan did not originate solely from economic motives. Part of the reason stemmed from the intention to encourage childbirth and stabilize the population. Nevertheless, after decades, Japan's birth rate has continued to decline with no sign of improvement with the number. Alongside its economic power, Japan has also made a strong cultural impact by exporting popular culture worldwide, particularly through its anime industry. According to data from Wikipedia, Japan accounts for up to 60% of the world's total animated productions and boasts the largest fan community globally, with more than 800 million people. Iconic works such as Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Demon Slayer have become cultural phenomena far beyond Asia's borders. In fact, if you ever see someone running with their body leaning forward and both arms stretched straight back, that could be a clear influence from Japanese anime culture. Can you guess what that unusual running style is called? If you are also a fan of Japanese anime, don't hesitate to leave a comment for Number 5. The Sins of the Land of the Rising Sun Day. Throughout its history, Japan has been one of the very few countries never to be completely colonized by foreign powers. For most of the time, the country deliberately adopted a policy of isolation, strictly limiting external presence and influence. It was not until 1853, when the fleet of American warships approached and forced Japan to open its ports to trade, that this barrier of isolation was truly broken. This event marked a historic turning point, leading to the Meiji Restoration. From a backward feudal society, Japan rapidly industrialized and modernized, and within less than 40 years it rose to become a military power. The most remarkable highlight was its victory over the Russian Empire in 1905, the first time in modern history that an Asian nation defeated a European power, shaking the global geopolitical order. Before World War II broke out, Japan had become the only Asian nation capable of fully competing with Western countries on three fronts: military strength, industrial capacity, and territorial ambition. This was also the period of the most extensive territorial expansion in Japanese history, with control stretching from the Korean Peninsula, Taiwan, the Philippines, and Indonesia to Vietnam, Burma, and over one-third of present-day Chinese territory. However, this expansion brought severe consequences for the occupied nations. In Vietnam, the forced requisition of food and the imposition of harsh military rule contributed to the famine of 1945, which claimed about 2 million lives. In Korea, tens of thousands of women were forced into the system of comfort women, serving the Japanese army. Even today, this issue remains one of the main causes of diplomatic tension between the two countries. Although the mistakes of the past caused severe suffering, Japan has since made official efforts to take responsibility and make amends to the nations affected. Beginning in the 1990s, the Japanese government publicly acknowledged its role in the wartime comfort women system and issued apologies to the victims. In 1995, Japan established the Asian Women's Fund to provide financial and emotional support for survivors. Each victim received about $15,000, along with a direct letter of apology from the Japanese Prime Minister. In the 1965 agreement to normalize Japan-Korea relations, Tokyo also pledged aid and loans worth up to 800 million USD to help South Korea rebuild its economy. For Vietnam, since the normalization of relations in 1973, and especially from 1992 onward, Japan has become the largest bilateral donor through ODA funds for many consecutive years. Although debates remain over the depth of the apologies and the scale of compensation, Japan is regarded as one of the rare Asian nations that has proactively confronted its past, rather than avoiding or denying it. Number 6. They also have adult vending machines. Japan is not only known as a technological and economic powerhouse, but also as a country with an education system highly regarded by the international community. According to the 2023 PISA survey, Japanese students achieved outstanding results, ranking among the top 3 in the world in all 3 core subjects: mathematics, science, and reading. In the same year, the World Top 20 ranking also listed Japan among the top 3 nations with the most comprehensive education systems, while placing it first in learning performance among developed countries. However, what many education experts find most noteworthy is not just the ranking figures. The core of Japan's success lies in its educational philosophy that emphasizes character and moral development. Between the ages of 6 and 10, Japanese students are not pressured by exams or grades. Instead, they are taught proper behavior, how to care for others, and how to build a collective spirit. These first 4 years are considered the stage for establishing a solid moral foundation, shaping the student's personality and lifestyle for the rest of their lives. For this reason, Japan is recognized as one of the world's most human-centered, sustainable, and exemplary education models. Alongside the strengths of its education system, Japan also sparks much debate regarding certain aspects of its social life, particularly its culture of vending machine use. There are more than 4 million vending machines in the country, equivalent to about 1 machine for every 30 people. These machines distribute a wide range of products, from beverages and snacks to cosmetics and daily necessities. However, in some less populated areas, it is easy to come across machines that provide discreetly packaged private items without requiring age verification for purchase. Some machines even sell photo books, women's lingerie, or other sensitive items. The fact that such products are displayed openly in public often surprises many Western visitors due to cultural differences. Nonetheless, surveys indicate that vending machines with such special content account for only a very small percentage of the total. The vast majority of machines provide everyday products and help millions of Japanese people save time in their daily lives. In recent years, the Japanese government has actively implemented measures to control the installation of vending machines in sensitive locations, particularly near schools or tourist sites. This is a clear sign that the government is striving to maintain a balance between applying technology and preserving social norms. Therefore, if you come across criticisms of Japan's vending machine culture, you should understand that these are only exceptional cases within a system that is tightly managed and closely tied to the daily lives of its people. Number 7. The homeland of both samurai and ninja. When speaking of Japan, the first image that often comes to mind for many people is that of the samurai warriors. However, samurai were not simply fighters. They once formed a distinct social class, emerging in the 10th century, serving feudal lords in centuries-long power struggles. From being dependent retainers, they gradually became symbols closely tied to the entire feudal era of Japan. The core element that shaped the samurai identity was the spirit of Bushido, meaning the way of the warrior. In their philosophy of life, honor and loyalty were valued above life itself. Many samurai, when faced with defeat, chose to commit suicide through the ritual of seppuku to preserve their personal honor. Although harsh, this practice reflected their belief that dignity outweighed survival. Speaking of samurai, one cannot overlook the katana, a weapon that was not only for combat but also carried sacred symbolic value. Each katana was forged using multi-layer steel folding techniques, combining a soft core with a hard outer shell, creating high resilience while maintaining exceptional sharpness. Its most recognizable feature was the slight curve along the blade, which enhanced cutting efficiency and gave it a distinctive beauty that no other weapon could match. To produce a katana that met the highest standards, craftsmen underwent rigorous training and devoted months, sometimes years, of work. Although the feudal system ended after the Meiji Restoration and the samurai class ceased to exist, their spirit remains alive in Japanese popular culture as an inseparable part of national identity. Alongside the image of the samurai was the real existence of the ninja, also known as shinobi. Unlike samurai, who were part of the official warrior ranks, ninjas carried out special roles such as espionage, intelligence gathering, sabotage, and assassination missions. In modern times, Japan still maintains certain ninja training villages, such as Chibiko Village in Nagano Prefecture. Here, junior high school students are systematically trained to learn ancient ninja skills, from physical exercises to practicing with weapons like throwing stars and blowguns. For those curious to explore the ninja world more deeply, the Iga Museum in Osaka is an ideal destination. It preserves the history of ninjas dating back to the 15th century and is divided into three specialized sections. The first is the Virtual Ninja House, where female guides dressed as ninjas introduce hidden tools and demonstrate the operation of secret mechanisms, such as Shikakato doors and Nukamichi escape passages. The next section is a hands-on experience area, where visitors can personally try using more than 400 types of ninja equipment, including Nawabashigo, Makibishi, and Shuriken. The final section is a historical exhibition, recreating the origins and development of ninjas through ancient records. Number 8. The capital Tokyo of Japan. Tokyo is currently one of the most populous megacities in the world, with a total population exceeding 37 million people. The most iconic image reflecting the city's density is the Shibuya crossing. At every green light, thousands of people cross simultaneously, turning the intersection into a sea of organized and perfectly disciplined movement. Giant LED billboards and brightly lit skyscrapers in areas such as Shinjuku and Ginza create the impression that Tokyo is a city that never sleeps. However, just a few hundred meters away from the center, a sense of tranquility returns. The Sensoji Temple in Asakusa, built in the 7th century, still serves as a sacred place where people come to pray, draw fortunes, and purchase traditional souvenirs. Nearby, the Meiji Jingu Shrine is hidden within a dense forest, offering a peaceful space that feels detached from the pace of modern life. Going a bit further, you will find old neighborhoods such as Yanaka and Kagurazaka, where narrow stone-paved streets bring people back to the image of Japan from centuries past. One of the highlights that fascinates visitors about Tokyo is its exceptional cuisine. The city holds the global record for the number of Michelin-starred restaurants, from high-end sushi shops in Ginza to affordable ramen stalls at Ikebukuro Station, or izakayas where locals gather after a long day at work. Each place offers its own unique flavor. In particular, the Toyosu Fish Market hosts tuna auctions every early morning, making it an unmissable experience for anyone passionate about Japanese food culture. In addition, Tokyo is also known as the hub of Japanese pop culture. Akihabara is always bustling with anime, manga, and the latest technological products. Meanwhile, Harajuku is the destination for young people who love experimental fashion, where vibrant individual styles create a unique cultural scene. Many youths here adopt the Lolita style, with layered puffed skirts, white lace, parasols, and thigh-high lace stockings, resembling characters stepping out of a fairy tale. At the same time, Tokyo leads in futuristic technology with landmarks such as the Tokyo Skytree, standing 634 meters tall, and cafes where robots serve customers, offering the feeling of living decades into the future. What leaves many people particularly impressed is the precision and orderliness of urban life here. Tokyo's subway system operates with almost zero delay, punctual to the very second. The sight of residents lining up in perfect order without pushing, combined with the cleanliness of the environment and high levels of safety, makes this city an ideal model of how a modern and civilized metropolis can function. Number 9. The refined culture of tea ceremony. When speaking of Japan, the tea ceremony is an inseparable part of its cultural identity, though its origins actually began in China. In the 9th century, Japanese monks returning from studies at the Shaolin Temple brought tea seeds back to their homeland. What was special is that they combined tea drinking with meditation, turning tea into a part of spiritual training. From there, Japanese tea culture gradually developed its own distinct path compared to its place of origin. In China, tea is a refined art expressed through the diversity of tea varieties, elaborate teapots and cups, and masterful brewing techniques. Tea makers choose ingredients based on region, harvest season, and climate. A tea session can resemble a ceremonial performance. In Japan, however, matcha powdered green tea with a strong bitter taste became the primary choice. Though there are fewer types, there is still a clear distinction, such as yusucha, thin tea for daily occasions, and kocha, thick tea for formal ones. This deliberate simplicity created a style of tea appreciation that focuses on inner tranquility rather than the display of technique. This is why the Japanese tea ceremony became more of a tool for character training than mere enjoyment. In a traditional tea gathering, every action, from entering the room, washing hands, wiping bowls, to rotating the teacup, is strictly regulated. These seemingly rigid gestures actually teach the Japanese humility, patience, and attention to detail. They learn to wait, maintain order, avoid conflict, and refrain from excessive expression. Such qualities have become foundational in Japanese communication and daily life. Today, the tea ceremony has become more widespread and is no longer confined to temples or the upper class. In Tokyo and Kyoto, hundreds of classes are offered to both locals and tourists. It is estimated that each year more than 80,000 Japanese have participated in at least one tea ceremony session. In high schools, tea ceremony is organized as an extracurricular activity, with some schools even establishing dedicated clubs, placing it on equal footing with calligraphy or ikebana. Through these experiences, students are introduced to traditional culture and learn to cultivate the characteristic values of Japanese society from an early age. Number 10. The most famous tourist attractions. If there is one place in Japan that can stop visitors in their tracks at first sight, it is the Itsukushima Shrine. The striking red torii gate standing in the sea at high tide creates the illusion of floating between sky and water. But the experience goes beyond just sightseeing. Visitors can kayak around the gate at sunset, hike up Mount Misen for panoramic views of the island, or stroll along moss-covered paths that wind through peaceful neighborhoods. Each season has its own beauty, but when autumn leaves blanket the island, it feels as if the entire landscape has been transformed. From the coastal scenery, the view shifts to the lush green of the Arashiyama bamboo grove. The Sagano bamboo forest impresses with its towering bamboo stalks, where sunlight filters through the leaves to create a distinctive atmosphere. The sound of the wind rustling through the bamboo adds to the rare sense of tranquility. Visitors often cycle along the narrow paths, take photographs, and stop by ancient temples hidden within the grove. In autumn, the red maple leaves mingling with the green bamboo create a unique setting that blends nostalgia with vibrancy. Moving upward to higher elevations, Mount Fuji appears with its snow-capped peak and almost perfect symmetrical shape. From Lake Kawaguchi, the reflection of the mountain on the water captures everyone's attention. Some choose to climb overnight to greet the sunrise at the summit, while others prefer staying at a lakeside ryokan, soaking in hot springs while admiring Fuji. Cycling through small towns, viewing cherry blossoms in early spring, or boating on the lake are also favorite activities among visitors. Finally, there is Hitachi Seaside Park, famous for its rolling hills of flowers stretching to the horizon. In spring, Nemophila flowers blanket the fields in a sea of blue that spreads up the slopes. In autumn, kochia bushes turn a vivid red, forming a brilliant carpet under the sun. The park features cycling paths, observation areas, festival spaces, and elevated viewpoints for photos. With colors changing from season to season, Hitachi Seaside always offers scenes unlike anywhere else. Number 11. The mysterious places still unexplained. In the far north of Aomori Prefecture, Mount Osor is a land that leaves many both astonished and cautious. The ground is cracked, white smoke rises from beneath the earth, and the air is heavy with the smell of sulfur from geothermal heat. What makes Osor truly special, however, is the belief that it is the place where the souls of the dead gather before crossing into the afterlife. In local Buddhism, this area is regarded as the boundary between the living world and the underworld. The Bodai-ji Temple, located in the middle of this hot land, has a stone bridge called Sanzu, symbolizing the final journey of the soul. Visitors often come here to pray for deceased loved ones, especially families who have lost children. Some locals once shared with the Japan Times that they had heard sounds echoing from underground or felt an unusual chill even in the middle of summer. There is no concrete scientific evidence, but the silence and isolation of this place have created an inexplicable sense of mystery. In Hokkaido, there is also a forest near Kitami City known as the Vanishing Forest. It is not fully marked on maps, and compasses frequently malfunction there. Electronic devices also tend to lose signal when going deeper inside. Many hikers have reported that the forest is densely wooded, with little light penetrating, and trails disappearing after only a few hours. Stranger still, many trees of the same species are twisted in opposite directions as if subjected to some unusual force. A group of students once set up camp in the forest to film a documentary, but after just 2 nights, all their recording equipment suddenly stopped working. A drone went missing and was only found the next day, with no data left in its memory. Although there is no evidence that the magnetic field here is different or that supernatural phenomena occur, the repeated cases of disorientation and device malfunctions remain unexplained. Number 12. The unique festivals that tourists should know. Among the most distinctive festivals in Japan, Hanami is the image most closely associated with spring and the poetic flower-viewing spirit of the Japanese people. This festival takes place from late March to early April across the country, especially in cities such as Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. When cherry blossoms are in full bloom, families and friends gather under the trees to enjoy the fragile and pure beauty of nature. Bento boxes are prepared in advance, sake is poured into glasses, and groups eat, talk, and sing together in a space filled with pink blossoms. Hanami is not simply about admiring flowers, but also expresses the philosophy of cherishing the present moment, a characteristic feature of the Japanese way of experiencing life. In summer, Japan's atmosphere lights up with the bright colors of Tanabata, the festival of wishes written on small pieces of paper. Celebrated on July 7 each year across the country, the grandest Tanabata festival takes place in Sendai. Here, people write their wishes on colorful strips of paper called tanzaku and hang them on bamboo branches. Festival streets are covered with ribbons, lanterns, and vibrant decorations, turning the city into a lively fairy tale scene. The festival is inspired by the legend of the cowherd and the weaver girl, two stars who are allowed to meet only once a year, symbolizing faith in reunion and hope in life. In mid-August, the Japanese enter the Obon season, an important occasion reflecting spiritual connection and filial piety within families. Obon is celebrated nationwide, especially on a large scale in Kyoto, Tokushima, and Nagasaki. During this period, many people leave the cities to return to their hometowns, visit ancestral graves, offer prayers, and join in the traditional Bonodori dances held in temple courtyards and public squares. At nightfall, hundreds of floating lanterns are set adrift on rivers, symbolizing the guiding of ancestral spirits back to the afterlife. Obon is a time to honor deceased parents and grandparents, and also to strengthen bonds between generations. Closing the summer festival season is a dazzling festival of light from the Tohoku region, the Nebuta Festival in Aomori. Held in early August in Aomori City in northern Japan, the Nebuta Festival is famous for its massive illuminated floats made from washi paper, depicting gods, warriors, or historical figures. These floats are paraded through the streets, accompanied by taiko drumming and the powerful chants of Risera from hundreds of performers. Visitors can also wear traditional costumes and join the procession. The Nebuta Festival is not only a celebration of light and color, but also a way for the people of Tohoku to express their resilience in overcoming the hardships of harsh winters. Number 13. The most famous dishes in Japan. When speaking of Japanese cuisine, the first image that often comes to mind for many people is sushi. This is not just a dish, but also a culinary symbol recognized worldwide. The compact pieces of sushi are created from a combination of vinegared rice and fresh seafood such as tuna, salmon, shrimp, or roe. Each piece is presented with elegance, visually appealing and carrying a subtle fragrance. When enjoyed with a touch of spicy wasabi and rich soy sauce, sushi delivers a soft texture and a refreshing flavor that spreads throughout the palate. However, not every Japanese dish is easy for international diners to accept. Shirako is the clearest example. This dish is made from the milt of pufferfish or cod and is considered a high-value delicacy in Japan. Shirako has an ivory-white appearance with a creamy texture, often prepared by steaming, grilling, or eating raw. For many Western visitors, both the look and the meaning of the ingredient may cause hesitation. But for the Japanese, what makes it special is its rich creaminess and the smooth sensation of it melting instantly on the tongue, offering a unique culinary experience rarely found elsewhere. For those seeking something more familiar and approachable, ramen is the ideal choice. Each steaming bowl carries the rich aroma of broth simmered from pork bones, paired with golden noodles of just the right chewiness and thinly sliced, tender, flavorful chashu pork. Ramen is also enhanced with soft boiled eggs, dried seaweed, and minced garlic to add depth of flavor. Concluding the journey with tempura, one can see the Japanese mastery of deep frying elevated to an art. Pieces of shrimp, fish, or vegetables are coated in a thin layer of batter, then quickly fried in hot oil to create a golden, crispy crust that is not greasy. Tempura is often served with tsuyu dipping sauce made from soy sauce, mirin, and dashi, and can be enjoyed on its own, with rice, or with soba noodles depending on preference. The natural sweetness inside, combined with the crunchy texture outside, creates an intriguing contrast in every bite. Number 14. Important tips for tourists. Japan is famous for its modern railway system that runs with minute-by-minute precision. But it is also a place where many travelers feel as if they have stepped into a maze, especially at major stations such as Shinjuku or Osaka. Here, every exit is numbered and clearly divided by area, so if you choose the wrong one, you may have to walk quite a long way to get back on track. To avoid wasting time, you should carefully check in advance which exit is closest to your destination and do not hesitate to ask station staff for guidance, as taking the wrong exit is common, even for Japanese locals. If traveling in summer, especially in July and August, do not let the seemingly mild weather fool you. Although the temperature ranges only from 32 to 35 degrees Celsius, the high humidity combined with strong solar radiation causes thousands of people each year to be hospitalized for heat stroke. In Japan, there is even a warning system based on the perceived temperature to indicate danger levels. Therefore, always carry water, wear a hat, and take breaks in the shade if you plan to walk under the sun. In some quiet residential areas, you may encounter the phenomenon of hikikomori people who isolate themselves from society. If you rent an Airbnb in such neighborhoods, you may find it unusual when neighbors do not greet you, remain silent, or avoid eye contact. This does not mean they are impolite, but rather reflects the reserved lifestyle typical of many Japanese people. Be mindful to stay quiet, avoid loud conversations in hallways, and refrain from playing music at high volume to prevent disturbing others. One small but important note: avoid stepping on drainage covers when it rains. In cities such as Kyoto or Hiroshima, many manhole covers are beautifully decorated but become very slippery when wet. Quite a few travelers have slipped and fallen simply because they mistook them for regular pavement. Pay attention to the ground, especially if you are wearing smooth-soled shoes or walking in wet weather conditions. Number 15. The cost of living. If you are planning to live, study, or work long-term in Japan, it is essential to understand the cost of living in advance. In major cities such as Tokyo or Osaka, the cost of living is not low, especially if you want to stay in the city center. A one-bedroom apartment in central districts usually costs between $800 and $1,200 per month. The advantage of these locations is their convenience, with easy access to public transportation and essential services. On the other hand, if you are willing to live farther from the center, rental costs drop to around $400 to $700, depending on the location and condition of the apartment. Public transportation in Japan is famous for its precision and efficiency, with trains being the most commonly used means. Ticket prices for short trips range from $1 to $2.5. Commuters and students often purchase monthly passes, costing between $70 and $100 depending on travel distance. In addition, bicycles are also a popular option in residential areas or for those with shorter commutes. Daily food expenses depend on whether you choose to cook at home or eat out. If you frequently cook and shop at supermarkets, monthly grocery costs range from $200 to $300. Conversely, if you often eat out, meals at casual eateries, such as ramen, beef bowls, or Japanese curry typically cost $4 to $6, while dining at a more formal restaurant costs around $10 to $20 per meal. For essential utilities such as electricity, water, gas, internet, and phone, you should budget about $100 to $150 per month. High-speed internet generally costs around $30 to $40, depending on the provider and plan you choose. Electricity costs fluctuate by season, especially during periods of heavy air conditioning or heating use. On average, a single person wanting to live relatively comfortably in Japan needs about $1,200 to $1,500 per month. However, if you adopt a minimalist lifestyle and live in suburban or smaller provincial areas, total monthly expenses can be kept around $1,000 while still covering basic needs. Surely after exploring 15 incredible facts about Japan, you've gained a glimpse of the country's unique charm. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Which fact impressed you the most? Leave a comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The information is for reference only, so please do your own research before making any decisions.